Hey guys, so I'm gonna try something different today. I've got the camera out, I've made 2 other videos and I said, you know something, let's go through an entire Harry Potter video with me on camera for once. Now of course I'll throw in a few clips, but as you can see the title of this video is After the War, Draco and the Death of His Wife. Now the reason I'm making this video is because Tom Felton, as many of you know, is reprising his role as Draco Malfoy. Not on the big screen, but in the theatre. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child has just got the original Draco Malfoy. So I want to take you through what Draco has gone through up until the point of the Cursed Child. So you know what he's actually been through and what his son has been through. So anyway, let's get straight into it. Now the Battle of Hogwarts was the climax of the Second Wizarding War, and although the battle seen many casualties, the overall war looks as if it's taken its toll on everyone, even Harry Potter. Harry struggled more than anyone with survivor's guilt, and he believed many people died because of him, even though, in reality, they died fighting against Voldemort and his oppression. So life after the war was tough for a lot of people, and Draco Malfoy was no exception. Despite still being the ridiculously wealthy, getting married and having a son kind of guy in the years that followed, Draco would suffer the devastating loss of his wife Astoria, and it was something that he never really recovered from. So it will be interesting to see how Tom portrays that kind of version of Draco in The Cursed Child. But anyway, here is Draco's life after the war. Now, due to the Malfoys' refusal to fight, in addition to aiding Harry Potter against Voldemort, something Harry confirmed to the Ministry himself, Draco and his parents were not prosecuted for their service to the Dark Lord, highlighting the leniency around law enforcement still existing as it once did during the last war in the Wizarding World, with many criminals still being released in exchange for information on higher profile Death Eaters. But anyway, Draco gets off, and his attitude towards Muggles and Muggleborns takes a 180 after realising that he was trying to be someone that he wasn't. Still, Draco wasn't overly nice, and he still maintained a slight aristocratic attitude, you could say. I mean, you can't beat everything out of a boy who was raised a bigot every single day of his life by his father. So Draco ends up marrying Astoria Greengrass, who was 2 years behind him in school, and after she graduated from Hogwarts, they dated for a while, and they didn't really properly begin a relationship until they had both been out of school. Now, Astoria, being from the Greengrass family, was also brought up in a similar environment as Draco, but Astoria's upbringing wasn't as strict as Draco's. Her father, her parents, you know, they weren't as strict as Lucius was. Lucius was literally crazy. So Astoria didn't see the stigma surrounding the mixture of magical and Muggle blood, and she pushed Draco to embrace similar thinking, which of course he did. And with Astoria being a pureblood, you'd think Lucius was happy with the match. He wasn't. He wasn't happy at all. And this was due to the fact that the Greengrass family had an ancient blood curse placed upon their family line, affecting the second born child, and lo and behold, that was Astoria. So Lucius seen her as a poor choice for his son, but Narcissa, despite standing beside Lucius for many years, she credited her son for choosing his wife purely out of love, and described it as one of the most courageous things she'd ever seen. Don't forget, it was Narcissa's love for Draco that grounded him in the end, so to see him choose love for himself, well, it made her extremely proud. So there's not too much information on the blood curse that Astoria suffered from. We just know it was slowly draining the life out of her. It wasn't a quick thing. She was meant to suffer. That's the point of it. It's a punishment. Also, it's not to be confused with the Maledictus curse that Nagini suffered with. And on that note, it would be interesting to discover how such curses could be created and actually placed on an entire bloodline. Like, that is a pretty powerful spell to continue on as the bloodlines, you know, it's just crazy. It's kind of similar to Voldemort's curse on the defense against the dark arts position. It prolonged, it kept going on, it kept continuing no matter who took the position. The curse still remained effective. Like, it's really, really crazy. But anyway, what is certain is that it was always going to claim her life. This curse was pretty powerful, as I said, and it was vastly accelerated due to Astoria's pregnancy. Despite Draco's worries and protests over the effects of conceiving a child, he knew it was what Astoria wanted. She gave birth, of course, to a healthy baby boy, Scorpius Hyperion Malfoy. However, with that being said, Draco was fully prepared to have the Malfoy line end with him if it meant prolonging his wife's lifespan. He really loved her, he didn't want to live without her. And we actually have a direct quote from Draco in The Cursed Child where he says, "I didn't want to risk her health. I said it didn't matter whether the Malfoy line died with me, whatever my father said. But Astoria, she didn't want a baby for the Malfoy name, for pure blood or glory, but for us. Our child Scorpius was born. It was the best day of both our lives. Although it weakened Astoria considerably, we hid ourselves away, the three of us. I wanted to conserve her strength." When she eventually passed in 2019, Draco was left devastated, as was his son. Scorpius turned to his father to cope with his grief, and to his credit, Draco did his best, but the situation was extremely difficult for him to deal with. He'd spent so much time taking care of his wife that suddenly a huge part of his day, of his schedule, just opened up. This woman had changed his life for the better in so many ways, and now she'd gone. Even his parents, who had seen Astoria as somewhat of a disappointment, even lent their support to him. Draco had enormous wealth, so he had no need to work, which again freed up more time. Therefore, he began devoting time to preserving his family's many, many dark artifacts. He had little interest in them, if we're being honest, but they had been in the family so long that he felt it was only right to continue to look after them and make sure they all held up pretty well. As I mentioned, Lucius and Narcissa did lend their support. They gave him as much support as he needed. It hurt Narcissa that her son was suffering, and despite Lucius' quite cold persona, he wasn't made out of stone. It also hurt him to see Draco being upset. We've seen how desperate he was to locate Draco during the ongoings of the Battle of Hogwarts, even suggesting to Voldemort himself to call off the attack, so we know he does care. He knows how much Draco loved Astoria. And he always would. That's the thing. Draco never lost anything important to him before, so this was a first in comparison to Harry Potter, who lost just about everything. Harry never knew his parents. Anybody that he got close to, he lost. He lost Sirius, he lost Remus, he lost Tonks, he lost so many. Anyway, it's not currently known if Draco met anyone else after Astoria's death. I can't imagine he did, but from evidence in relation to his love for Astoria, he was always going to be a one-woman man for the rest of his life. And I really don't think he'd have the want within him to give his heart to somebody else either. Anyway guys, with that being said, that is just a short video on how I thought Draco dealt with the loss of his wife. I would love to pull the Cursed Child into this video even more, but I would have to dive into Draco's life even further after the war, which involves diving into the Cursed Child, and I just can't bring myself to do that because I really don't enjoy the story, the script, the play. I don't. But I know some of you do, and as I said, with Tom Felton reprising this role, I think the Cursed Child is going to get a hell of a lot of interest. But anyway guys, that is my video for today. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all in the very next video.